I used to be one of those producers who had terrible output. I mean, terrible. I'd make beats every day. I'd start maybe 4 beats a day. They never went anywhere. They never became songs. So now I'm seeing all of these producers talking about they're taking the beat a day challenge. It's a popular thing that a lot of people are doing. My man Dream Life was participating in it. Memory, I think, was going to start participating in it. I committed to making a beat a day and finishing and uploading a beat a day a little while ago, and it actually completely changed my life. But I want to talk about how I went from being a zero output producer to where I am now, where I'm finishing so many beats that I can release a beat every single day to my BeatStars and YouTube page. Okay, so rewind back to, I think it was 2007, right? So 2008 was my big year where I got my first placement. It was a #1 album. It was a big album, and it's an album that's regarded as a classic, which was Young Jeezy's Recession. Now, prior to that, I had this whole problem of where I was starting 5 beats a day, never finishing them. Every producer around me in my city was releasing projects, albums, and I would have, the rappers I worked with come over. I'd start a beat, they'd record to an unmixed, unfinished beat of mine, and then the song just never got done. I didn't have motivation to finish that beat. It was a pain in the ass. I just wanted to continue making new beats. That was a problem with my process. It was a problem with my approach. Look, if your process is working for you and you're content with it, cool. I'm not telling you to switch up. But a lot of producers, myself included, because that's where I was, that's where my mind state was back then when I was a lot younger in the game. It was that, so I'm making all these beats, it's cool. I want something better. I want more output. I want songs to get done. I want to have success to the point where this is my livelihood, but I'm just gonna keep doing the same thing. If we're not content with our output, if we're not content with our results, sometimes the last thing we do is sit down and look in the mirror and say, what am I doing wrong? For me, I had to get to that point because things were getting serious. This was, again, 2007. I had just gotten my teaching degree, and that would have been it. You can't balance 2 careers if one of your careers is teaching. So I gave myself a year. I was just gonna work for a year and try to make beats and see what happens, because I had been investing so much into creating a producer brand for myself. I needed to find out if that was something that I should either completely abandon or something that I should continue with. So for several months, I forced myself to finish beats because I knew if I didn't have a catalog of finished beats, I had no leverage. What was I gonna do? Send out a bunch of unfinished beats to rappers and A&Rs? No, I'd look like an idiot. So I knew I had to finish these beats, and I knew that I had a problem. I had to have that honest conversation with myself. I had a problem finishing beats. Didn't have a problem starting new ones though. That's what I did. And I'll tell you, it was the greatest thing for me, knowing who I was, knowing that my process was flawed, knowing that my mentality was flawed. I got into the habit of finishing a track all the way through, not just starting it and abandoning it and going to the next one and repeating that flawed process. And a lot of people might be sitting here saying, there's no way you were making good beats. I wasn't. I was making a lot of really terrible beats that I'm embarrassed to listen to now. Maybe 1 out of every 8 or 10 beats that I made was decent. But I finished all of them. I finished hundreds of beats. And it wasn't about making the greatest beat. It was about me knowing my process and refining my process. Because what happened was this. If I'm in the studio with an artist, I can finish the whole song then and there because I'm familiar with that process. I learned more about my DAW, I learned more about my workflow, I made it more efficient, I made it quicker. So it wasn't that I'm rushing through beats now just to finish a beat, it's that I know how to work more efficiently and more effectively because I spent a whole year making mostly mediocre beats just so I could train myself. People act like repetition doesn't train you. You don't go to the gym and do 1 rep and leave and suddenly you're Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know what I'm saying? So this really is a process that can work for a lot of people, and this is advice that I share because it worked for me. A lot of people freaked out, and I want to respond to some of the comments left on the Music Entrepreneur Club website where I posted this, because a lot of them I think are just missing the point. Donald Hart USA says, I fundamentally disagree with this. The goal is to put out the best product every time, not just to get it done. You are what you consistently do. If you develop a habit of just completing something to complete it, you and mediocrity will be intimate friends. How eloquent. I agree that you are what you consistently do. So if you consistently don't finish beats, what does that say about you? I consistently didn't finish beats, so I had to change my habit. Look, if you are like Donald and every single beat you make is amazing, great, keep doing what you do. But I don't agree with him saying if you develop a habit of completing something just to complete it, you will basically put out mediocre beats. I put out mediocre beats, well, I didn't put them out, but I made them so I could understand my process better and make it more efficient. Then I went back and focused on making better beats. And I progressed as a result. I mean, you can't really have you can be an amazing musician and focus on the best quality, but if you can't get to the point where you can finish the beats, you're still an incomplete producer. It's not one or the other. This is where I don't agree with these people. Another guy, Epidemics Music, Epidemics with an X, says, nah, quality over quantity. Always, no one cares if the reason you delivered a trash beat is because you were doing a challenge. Again, I think that's based on a misunderstanding of what the benefit of developing a habit of completion is. And what I want to say also is that you got to anticipate as a producer, if we're going to be great producers, which everybody who's commenting that this is a terrible process feels they are, that they're great producers, that they're making the best beats ever, that their quality is amazing, that their musicality is amazing. You got to anticipate being in the studio with some of the best artists. Recording artists. You got to anticipate working with the best recording artists. The best recording who are the top recording artists? You're going to be in the studio with J. Cole or Jay-Z or somebody amazing like that. There are going to be deadlines associated with working with these artists, period. And if you're sitting there on the spot with them, working on an idea, and you haven't developed a habit of being an efficient worker when it comes to putting your ideas down in a DAW, that's going to hurt your chances of working with them further, because you're going to be the guy that doesn't finish something potentially, or you're going to be the person that takes way too long because you're focused on perfecting the beat. I had to abandon my hope of ever perfecting a beat. Who said a beat is never perfected, just abandoned, or never completed, just abandoned? The point is, no matter what, I can listen to 100% of the songs that I put out that people like and sit there and think, damn, that beat doesn't sound finished to me. Damn, I could have added this. I shouldn't have done that. I wish I had done this. I wanted to change that. But if that mentality stops you from ever seeing a project through, that's gonna hurt you. We don't want to put deadlines on art. We don't want to put schedules on art. But if we want to transition from being hobbyist producers to professional musicians, where we're actually working with other professional musicians and earning a livelihood for ourselves from doing what we love, unfortunately, we're going to have to impose some type of discipline on ourselves. And I use the word unfortunately loosely, because once you get past that hump of just kind of forcing, just same way you go to your 9 to 5, you got to force yourself to wake up in the morning sometimes, because you know at the end of the day that's going to pay you, and you have to survive that way. You have to get over certain humps as an artist. And for me, I'm just sharing with you my experiences. I didn't want to confront my own flaws. I didn't want to do that extra work because it felt too much like traditional work. But at the same time, I wanted to make music as my work. So I had to make that compromise with myself. I had to learn how to discipline myself. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here right now talking to you. So look, if it works for you, if you're one of those producers that feels as though what your current process isn't working for you, I don't think there's anything wrong with trying a beat-a-day challenge. You might learn something about your process, you might learn something about yourself as a producer, and you might refine your workflow to the point where you end up a better producer, a more efficient producer, a more knowledgeable and well-rounded producer. Much success to you. Appreciate you watching. Peace.